The Forgotten Worlds. Supreme Commander Thax stood on the command deck of the Worldbreaker, his 6 arms crossed behind his back as he watched the final human colony burn below. The ice world of Kepler 438b had been humanity's last known refuge, home to barely 50,000 survivors who had fled here after the fall of Earth's colonies. Now, even this frozen wasteland would become their tomb. The massive Krillex warship dominated the orbital space above the planet, its dark hull bristling with plasma cannons that had just finished their grim work. Thax's reptilian features showed no emotion as he observed the destruction through the ship's main view screen. After 2 centuries of conflict with the aggressive human species, this moment marked the end of their expansion across the galaxy. "Status report," Thax commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had personally overseen the elimination of 47 human worlds over the past decade. Lieutenant Kresh, his communications officer, manipulated the holographic display with practiced efficiency. "All surface installations destroyed, Commander. No survivors detected. Long-range sensors confirm no human vessels escaped the system." Thax nodded with satisfaction. The humans had been a persistent problem for the Krillex Empire since first contact 150 years ago. Unlike other species the Empire had encountered, humans refused to accept their place as subjects. They fought with a ferocity that bordered on madness, using tactics that defied conventional military doctrine. But ferocity meant nothing against superior numbers and technology. The Empire controlled 12,000 star systems, commanded fleets of millions of vessels, and had absorbed dozens of alien species into their ranks. Humanity, with their handful of colonies and primitive ships, had been doomed from the moment they dared to resist Krillex expansion. "Open a channel to the Galactic Council," Thax ordered. The main screen shifted to display the ornate chamber where representatives from across known space gathered to conduct interstellar affairs. The council included species from every corner of the galaxy, all united under Krillex leadership. "Honored delegates," Thax began, his voice carrying across the chamber. "The human threat has been permanently eliminated. Their final stronghold has fallen, and long-range scans confirm no remaining human presence anywhere in charted space." A wave of approval rippled through the assembled aliens. The Zephyrians clicked their mandibles in satisfaction, while the crystalline Nexari chimed harmoniously. Even the usually stoic Vorthan representatives allowed themselves expressions of relief. Councillor Vex, the senior Krillex representative, stood to address the assembly. "After nearly 2 centuries of human aggression, peace has finally returned to our galaxy. Trade routes that were once threatened by human raiders are now secure. Colonies that lived in fear of human expansion can now prosper." What none of them knew was that their sensors could not penetrate the ice caverns beneath Kepler 438b's southern pole. Deep underground, in facilities that had taken decades to construct, 30,000 humans survived in a complex network of tunnels and chambers. The surface colony had been a decoy, designed to draw attention away from the real settlement below. Captain Elena Morrison crouched in the command center carved from solid ice, watching the orbital bombardment through periscope sensors that barely protruded above the frozen surface. Her jaw clenched as she witnessed the destruction of the decoy settlements, knowing that every explosion represented months of careful preparation being reduced to ash. "Captain," whispered Lieutenant Commander James Park, "is her second in command. The Krillex fleet is beginning to move out of orbit. Should we initiate emergency protocols?" Morrison shook her head. "Not yet. We wait until they're completely gone. One mistake now and everything we've worked for dies with us." The underground facility represented more than just a hiding place. It was humanity's secret weapon, a research and development complex where Earth's brightest minds had spent 15 years developing technologies that would turn the tide of war. While the galaxy believed humans were primitive and aggressive, the truth was far more complex. Dr. Sarah Chen worked in the physics laboratory 3 levels below the command center, putting the finishing touches on the prototype that would change everything. The device looked deceptively simple, a crystalline matrix no larger than her fist, but it contained the key to humanity's survival and eventual victory. "The quantum stealth field is stable," she reported to Morrison via secure communication. "We can render an entire fleet invisible to Krillex sensors. Their detection grid relies on gravitational resonance patterns, but our field manipulates space-time itself to create false readings." Morrison allowed herself a small smile. The Krillex had made a crucial mistake in their assessment of human capabilities. They saw humanity's aggressive expansion and assumed it was born from primitive instincts. In reality, humans had been studying their enemies for generations, learning everything possible about Krillex technology and tactics. Every captured ship had been analyzed down to the molecular level. Every intercepted communication had revealed more about their command structure. Every battle had provided data about their strengths and weaknesses. Now, with the galaxy believing humanity extinct, they had the perfect opportunity to strike back. "Begin evacuation to the secondary sites," Morrison ordered. "All personnel to their designated ships. We have a narrow window before they establish regular patrols in this system." The evacuation was a masterpiece of logistics and timing. Hidden launch bays opened beneath the ice, revealing a fleet of vessels that bore no resemblance to traditional human designs. These ships incorporated captured Krillex technology, enhanced with human innovation, creating hybrids that could operate undetected in enemy space. The Silent Dawn, Morrison's flagship, was the largest of these vessels. From the outside, it appeared to be a modified Krillex cruiser. Inside, every system had been rebuilt according to human specifications. The bridge crew consisted of survivors from Earth's most elite military units, each one burning with the desire for vengeance. "Status of the other evacuation sites?" Morrison asked as her ship cleared the underground hangar. 17 colonies report successful evacuations," replied Communications Officer Lisa Wong. "Total survivor count stands at 400,000 across all sites. All ships are equipped with the new stealth systems." Morrison nodded grimly. 400,000 humans scattered across dozens of hidden bases throughout the galaxy. The Krillex believed they had eliminated 5 billion humans, never realizing that the majority of those deaths had been carefully staged using holographic projections and falsified sensor data. The real human population had been evacuated to remote systems years before the final offensive began. Ice worlds on the edge of mapped space, asteroid facilities in systems the Krillex considered worthless, underwater colonies on worlds they had dismissed as uninhabitable. Humanity had learned to hide in plain sight, using the aliens' own preconceptions against them. As the evacuation fleet moved through hyperspace, Morrison reviewed the intelligence reports that had been gathering for decades. Every major Krillex facility was mapped and analyzed, every ship design was understood and countered, every communication protocol was broken and exploited. The Krillex Empire controlled 12,000 systems, but their strength was also their weakness. Such a vast domain required constant communication and coordination. Disrupt their command structure, and the Empire would collapse into chaos. Human cyber warfare specialists had spent years developing viruses specifically designed to exploit Krillex computer systems. "Captain," reported Chief Engineer Martinez from the engine room, "all ships are maintaining formation. The quantum stealth fields are operating perfectly. Even if a Krillex patrol stumbled directly into our fleet, they wouldn't detect us." Morrison studied the tactical display showing their convoy's position. 26 ships carrying the cream of human civilization, heading for bases where they would spend the next 15 years preparing for war. Not the desperate, chaotic conflict the galaxy expected from humans, but a calculated campaign of destruction that would bring the Krillex Empire to its knees. The aliens had taught humanity a valuable lesson about survival in a hostile galaxy. They had shown humans what it meant to fight against overwhelming odds with nothing but determination and ingenuity. Now humanity would return that lesson with compound interest. "Set course for the outer rim," Morrison commanded. "It's time to disappear completely. When we return, the galaxy will learn that reports of humanity's extinction were greatly exaggerated." The convoy vanished into the depths of space, leaving no trace of their passage. Behind them, Krillek's patrols would find only dead worlds and empty space. The official record would show the complete elimination of the human species. But in the darkness between stars, 30 ships carried the seeds of an empire's destruction. 400,000 survivors would spend the next decade and a half becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. When they finally revealed themselves, the Krillek's empire would face an enemy that had learned from every defeat, adapted to every challenge, and planned for every contingency. The Silent Dawn had begun, and with it, humanity's greatest revenge. The reckoning returns. 15 years had passed since the galaxy celebrated humanity's extinction. Supreme Commander Thax, now bearing the scars of age and countless victories, stood in his private quarters aboard the Eternal Dominion, reviewing reports from across the Krillek's empire. Trade flourished, colonies expanded, and peace reigned throughout the 12,000 systems under his control. The human problem had become ancient history, mentioned only in military academies as an example of what happened to species that dared challenge Krillek's supremacy. Thax had been promoted to Grand Marshal of the Imperial Fleet, commanding over 50 million vessels from his mobile fortress that served as the Empire's nerve center. "Marshal," announced his aide, Lieutenant Voss, entering the chamber with obvious concern. "We have received troubling reports from the Outer Rim territories. Several mining operations have gone silent without explanation." Thax looked up from his strategic displays, his reptilian features showing mild interest. "Equipment failures. The mining corporations cut costs on maintenance to maximize profits." "Sir, it's not just mining stations. 3 patrol fleets have missed their scheduled check-ins. Long-range sensors show no debris fields, no distress signals. They simply vanished." A cold sensation crept through Thax's consciousness. In his experience, when military vessels disappeared without trace, it meant only one thing. An enemy had acquired technology superior to standard Imperial defenses. How many ships are we talking about? 47 vessels in the past month alone, all from different sectors, all with perfect service records. The pattern suggests coordinated action rather than random accidents. Thax activated his command console, bringing up a holographic map of the galaxy. Red markers indicated the locations of disappeared vessels and facilities. The pattern was subtle but unmistakable, a methodical campaign targeting isolated Imperial assets on the galaxy's edge. "Dispatch additional patrol squadrons to the affected areas," he ordered, "and send word to the Galactic Council. We may have encountered a new species." What Thax could not have imagined was that, at that very moment, Admiral Elena Morrison stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, watching his fortress through sensors that could penetrate any known defensive system. The ship she commanded bore no resemblance to the desperate refugee vessel that had fled human space 15 years earlier. The Nemesis stretched nearly 3 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull composed of materials that absorbed sensor pulses rather than reflecting them. Every system had been designed from the ground up to exploit weaknesses in Krillek's technology. Most importantly, it carried weapons that could crack a planet's crust or disable an entire fleet without being detected. "Admiral," reported Commander Park, now her tactical officer, "the Imperial Fortress is maintaining standard patrol patterns. Their sensors are seated, completely blind to our presence." Morrison nodded, studying the massive vessel through the view screen. The Eternal Dominion was the pride of the Krillek's fleet, a mobile command center that coordinated Imperial operations across multiple star systems. Destroying it would paralyze the Empire's military response for months. "Status of the other strike groups?" she asked. "All positions confirmed," replied Communications Officer Wong. "Strike Group Alpha is targeting the industrial complexes in the core worlds. Strike Group Beta is positioned to hit their primary shipyards. Strike Group Gamma has the communication relays locked in." Morrison smiled grimly. This was the moment 15 years of preparation had been building toward. The Ghost Fleet, as human survivors had named their invisible armada, consisted of 300 vessels scattered throughout Krillek's space. Each ship carried crew members who had spent their entire adult lives training for this moment. The survivors had not simply hidden during their exile. They had transformed themselves into something the galaxy had never seen, a military force that combined human creativity with captured alien technology, enhanced by 15 years of focused development and burning desire for vengeance. Dr. Chen, status on the cyber warfare package. Dr. Sarah Chen, now the fleet's chief technology officer, worked at a console that interfaced directly with Krillek's communication networks. The virus is ready for deployment, Admiral. Once activated, it will propagate through their entire command structure within hours. Every ship, every station, every communication relay will be affected. The virus was humanity's secret weapon, a piece of code so sophisticated that it could rewrite itself to adapt to any defensive program the aliens might deploy. It would not just disable Krillek's systems, it would turn them against each other, causing navigation computers to plot collision courses and weapons systems to target friendly vessels. "Begin the operation," Morrison commanded. "Signal all strike groups. Commence Silent Dawn protocol." Across the galaxy, human vessels simultaneously dropped their stealth fields and opened fire. The attacks were precisely coordinated, hitting every major Imperial installation at the exact same moment. Krillek's commanders, who had enjoyed decades of peace, suddenly found their worlds under assault by ships that should not have existed. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, alarm screamed as the first reports of the attacks reached Thax. His tactical display filled with red emergency indicators from across the Empire. Dozens of systems were under attack, hundreds of facilities were going dark, and thousands of ships were reporting combat with unknown vessels. "Impossible," Thax whispered, staring at the scope of the coordinated assault. "No species has the resources to mount an operation of this magnitude." "Sir," reported his sensor officer, his voice tight with disbelief, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. Ships are decloaking all around us." The Nemesis materialized off the fortress's port side, followed by 26 other human vessels. They moved with perfect coordination, their weapons already locked onto critical systems. Thax found himself face to face with an enemy he had believed extinct for 15 years. "This is Admiral Elena Morrison of the Human Liberation Fleet," came the transmission that cut through all Imperial communication channels. "Grand Marshal Thax, you have exactly 60 seconds to surrender your vessel before we demonstrate why the galaxy was wrong about humanity's extinction." Thax's mind reeled. The woman speaking had been a mere captain when humanity supposedly died. Now she commanded a fleet that had somehow penetrated the heart of the Krillek's empire without detection. "Impossible. We destroyed your species. We watched your worlds burn." "You destroyed decoys and empty colonies," Morrison replied coldly. "While you celebrated your victory, we spent 15 years studying your weaknesses, building ships specifically designed to kill your people, and planning this moment. Surrender now and your crew will be spared." "Never!" Thax snarled, reaching for his weapon controls. "All ships, engage the human fleet. Show them why they should have stayed extinct." The battle that followed lasted exactly 7 minutes. Human vessels moved through space with impossible grace, their weapons punching through Krillek's shields as if they were made of paper. Every shot found its mark, every maneuver anticipated the enemy response. It was not a battle, it was an execution. The Eternal Dominion's defensive systems collapsed under the precise assault. One by one, its weapons went offline, its engines were disabled, its communication arrays were destroyed. Thax watched his flagship die around him, helpless to prevent the systematic dismantling of everything he had built. "This is not possible," he repeated, even as emergency lighting bathed his bridge in red. "Your technology is primitive. Your tactics are crude. How are you doing this?" Morrison's voice came through the static-filled communicators. "We learned from every battle, analyzed every captured ship, studied every weakness in your defenses. While you grew complacent in your victory, we never stopped improving. You taught us that survival requires evolution, Marshal. We evolved." Throughout the galaxy, the story was the same. Human strike groups eliminated Imperial defenses with surgical precision while the cyber virus spread through Krillek's networks like wildfire. Ships found their navigation systems plotting courses into stars. Communication relays broadcast contradictory orders that sent fleets racing in opposite directions. Weapon systems turned on their own vessels. The Galactic Empire, built on the foundation of superior technology and numerical advantage, discovered that both advantages meant nothing when the enemy understood your systems better than you did. Human engineers had spent 15 years finding ways to turn Galactic's technology against itself. As reports flooded in from across Imperial space, Thax realized the true scope of humanity's revenge. This was not a desperate last stand by a dying species. It was a calculated campaign of destruction planned down to the smallest detail. Every target had been chosen for maximum strategic impact. Every attack had been timed to prevent coordinated response. "Admiral Morrison," he said into his communicator, his voice heavy with defeat. "What are your terms?" "Unconditional surrender of all Imperial forces," she replied immediately. "Full reparations to human survivors, and trial for war crimes against sentient species." Thax looked around his ruined bridge, seeing the faces of crew members who had believed themselves invincible just minutes earlier. "And if I refuse? Then you can watch us dismantle your empire one system at a time. We have 300 ships, Marshal. You have 12,000 systems to defend. Do the mathematics." The transmission ended, leaving Thax alone with the consequences of his actions 15 years earlier. He had believed himself to be conducting a strategic genocide, eliminating a threat to galactic stability. Instead, he had created an enemy unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. In the depths of space, Admiral Morrison stood surrounded by the evidence of humanity's impossible victory. 37 Imperial fleets had surrendered within the first 6 hours. Over 2,000 installations had been captured or destroyed. The cyber virus continued spreading, paralyzing Imperial responses across half the galaxy. "Admiral," reported Commander Park with barely contained satisfaction, "long-range sensors confirm the success of all strike groups. The Galactic Empire has effectively ceased to exist as a unified force." Morrison nodded, but her expression remained grim. Victory felt hollow when purchased with 15 years of exile and the lives of billions of humans who had died in the original campaign. "Signal the Galactic Council. Inform them that humanity has returned and expects immediate recognition of our territorial claims." The galaxy that had celebrated humanity's extinction would now face a species that had been forged in the fires of near genocide and emerged stronger than ever. The Silent Dawn had ended, and with it, the age of Galactic's dominance. Humanity had returned to claim its place among the stars, and this time, no one would make the mistake of underestimating human determination ever again.